Hello everyone, today I want to make a video talking about Paul. We made a video a little while ago called How to Beat Spammers, where I talked about how, some generic tools and some tips for how you should think and how you should act to beat generic, overly aggressive and exploitative players in the lower ranks in the online environment. And that was a pretty popular video, but one thought I just threw out in that video was maybe I'll make a video where I talk about a specific character and how to beat that character specifically. And the response to that was very positive, and it turns out the character that the most people wanted me to talk about was Paul. And so I thought I'd make this video talking about how to sort of beat a very generic, very typical sort of low rank Paul. And there's one very important thing I need to stress here before we do this. First of all, I think Paul is actually a pretty well designed character in this game. I don't have any disrespect for the character. I think he does unnecessary amounts of damage with some of his tools, and there are a lot of cheap things in there, but that's true of a lot of characters in the game. But Paul is a good character in this game. And so if you're playing somebody and you're getting your ass kicked by Paul, it might not be because they are relying on exploits or they're being cheap. It might actually be that you're just playing a good Tekken player, using a good character and beating you. And in those cases, there's nothing like magical I can teach you that will just take you through the experience. You just have to sort of stand toe-to-toe with that person then and play real Tekken. But there's another sort of world in the lower ranks of Tekken where people sort of tend to repeat these very exploitative, very generic tools. And once you've played Tekken for many years in a row online, you sort of learn how to deal with that almost mechanically, and it becomes a lot easier to do those grinds through the green ranks that you've seen me do on this channel, like when I do Brawler to Vanguard in 20 minutes. That's not because I have some sort of like magical ability, it's just because a lot of the stuff I encounter is it almost sort of happens automatically, and so that's some of the experience I would like to share with you guys today. So we're going to jump over to the gameplay. I'm sorry this intro is getting to be a little bit long, but the last thing I want to say before we show you some gameplay is I just, before I started recording this, watched a video that Demolition Man just uploaded, who is a Swedish YouTuber and Tekken player who's been doing this for a very long time, longer than me. He's one of the guys that I was watching when I was kind of new to this game. And it was really cool because he was talking about the Tekken ranking system, and he had some cool statistics that show like what skill level each rank translates to. And it was a kind of a cool, humbling video because I've never seen these numbers before. But I think it pertains to a lot of what I talked about in my How to Beat Spammers video, about how I don't want you guys to beat yourself up when you're not doing well at the game. And I don't want you guys to feel like you're like at a shitty low rank if you're playing the game at the yellow ranks or the green ranks or even lower. It turns out, according to the statistics that Main Man showed in that video, that if you're playing like in the mid-green ranks, you're actually like in the top % of Tekken players globally in terms of rank. And once you reach the orange ranks, once you've gone through the yellow ranks and you play in the orange ranks and you're pushing the top orange ranks, which is where I currently play my main characters, you're in something like the 0.5% of Tekken players globally. So I know that it's very sort of easy to watch these YouTube videos and these streams and consider yourself shitty because you're not at that level. But it turns out you're actually probably more proficient and learning a lot more about this game than you think. And I want you to sort of come at it with a sort of positive attitude, because I think the main thing about this game when it comes to being good at it is not talent and not skill. It's actually time and experience. And most of the really good people you see are people who got good just by grinding and playing the game for many years. And then there are guys like AK who are like 16 and were born with some sort of like built-in sort of talent for fighting games, but that's that's a freak occurrence. So that's all I wanted to say. I definitely recommend you guys check out that video because I thought the numbers were surprising, and I thought they were really fun, and it made me feel better about my own rank, because I'm currently sort of beating myself up a little bit because I haven't hit the red ranks on my Gigas yet, which is what I'm trying to do right now, right? But enough about that. I'm going to jump over to some gameplay now and just show you how to deal with some generic Paul tools. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in a little bit.
Alright, so let's talk a little bit about how to deal with some generic Paul tools. The first thing I want to talk about here, and I think it's really the most important thing, is that there is like a duality between two Paul moves that are super powerful and super exploitable, and when these two moves work in tandem and you don't know how to deal with them, Paul becomes like the last boss. He becomes really powerful and silly to deal with. The first move, and like the most iconic move probably, is the Phoenix Smasher, also known as Paul's Death Fist. Probably a properly named move. This is his quarter circle forward 2. He can do a very quick version like that at close range that's going to be very fast, or he can extend it and do it at the very end of his roll dash for a massive amount of range. This move does huge damage. On a clean hit, it'll do something like, I think it's exactly 60 damage, which is more damage than a generic combo for most characters, meaning that it is absolutely crazy, right? The other thing about this move is if you have a mid that, not only does it crush highs, which it does because it comes out of the roll dash, not only does it do more damage than an entire combo, it also has like wall splatting properties. It works as a wall combo. It can, counter hit for insane amounts of damage. A move with properties these good would always be extremely punishable, usually launch punishable in this game. And the reason Paul's Death Fist is so difficult to deal with is that while it is a punishable move, you cannot just block punish it very easily because it has some specific properties that you need to be aware of. And so that's what I want to talk about right now. So we're gonna record Paul doing like a sort of mid-range Death Fist like that, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about how you might learn how to deal with that. So let's go to the record function, do a Death Fist. And now I'm back in control of Katarina, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how you might deal with this move. So, the first thing you need to know is your main character. Look up whether or not they have a reliable punishing option for the Death Fist. If there's not some sort of readily available information on your character, there should be. You need to know that the Death Fist is somewhere in the region of minus 16 to 17 depending on range, and so if you have a long range move in that sort of region, you might be able to use it as your punishing option. Katarina has what I use with her is I use down for 2-2, and so I can show you here me punishing a Death Fist with this move. Alright, so if you look at the left side of the screen, under the combo counter and the damage counter, in T letters the word punish just came up, and this just means that this is a proper block punish. It was completely guaranteed. There was nothing my opponent can do to prevent this damage. So I have an option that I can use to block punish the Phoenix Smasher. When I'm playing Gigas, I use forward 2. I think with Miguel, my best option that I use is forward 4-2. Kazumi can reach with a couple of her tools, but not all the time. But you just sort of need to know whether or not you have a great option. I mean, if you're playing Lars, who's like famously good at block punishment, you've got back 3-4, which is a move that is comfortably going to deal a huge amount of damage and knock the Paul down every single time you block a Death Fist, as long as you're fast enough with it. So it's important to know your own character in this sense. But the rabbit hole goes a little bit deeper. I'm going to back off a little bit here and try and block it at a further range. Okay, that was still a punish. That's still barely a punish. That was a whiff. Okay, maybe I needed to do like a... Oh, there we go. Okay, so as you can see right there, where I would normally have been able to block punish the Death Fist with Paul, because of the range and the knockback of the move, in some cases my block punish will completely whiff, and it becomes extremely dangerous to do it in these cases because the Paul player is used to this situation, and so what he usually does is he has the second Death Fist locked and loaded. When your your block punish whiffs, he will whiff punish that failed block punish with another Death Fist, and he still gets his damage. And so that's dangerous. And so when you are comfortable with the range of your own block punisher for Death Fist, you also need to be able to sort of judge the distance of the sort of knockback in this particular case, and judge whether or not it's time to do your punish or whether or not it's going to be too far away and too dangerous. Which is not that hard to do, because the block stun animation, if you look at this move right there, I have like a big window of time where I can sort of look at the distance, judge it, and sort of get a feel for, whether or not I should be punishing. And that's something that you just have to like practice to do. Okay. What about these Death Fists that come from downtown then, when I can't block punish them and I don't know I don't have a specific way to deal with them. Well, in cases where the Paul is doing a Death Fist from a spaced out position, my big tip, and one of the weaknesses of the Death Fist move, is lateral movement. So what I'm going to do here is just look at Paul. Let's say in this case, because we're in a spaced out position, he's doing like a long range version of the Death Fist. I'm going to record one that comes out later, like that. Now let's do it one more time. Let's try and get it at the very end of the roll dash. All right. So this is typically what you would deal with in like a spaced out position. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to look at Paul. I'm not going to, like, you can sidewalk around like this if you want to. It's going to work. If your opponent is just wanting to do his Death Fist and he doesn't care about what I'm doing, as you can see here, if you're just sidewalking in your favorite direction, it's going to work. But it's a little bit dangerous, and you shouldn't expect this to your opponent to be this sort of apish with their application of the move. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to look at Paul. When I see his roll dash, I'm going to do a single sidestep, and this is just to show you that there's more than enough time to visually react to the roll dash and sidestep a Death Fist. Alright, let's do it again. Alright, so when you see the roll dash and you think the Death Fist is coming, a single sidestep creates more than enough space for a comfortable evasion of this move, and then you can go into, you know, whatever combo you choose. So three main things you need to know about the Death Fist that I've taught you in this video. First of all, look up whether or not you have a good block punching option for the move. Second of all, learn how to judge the distance and know whether or not you're going to be able to punish the Death Fist. Third thing, if you have enough space to do it, it's a very good idea to try and sidewalk and sidestep this move. Just be very careful when you're at close range and you think you might come out, because in those cases the hitbox of the Death Fist is actually kind of wide, and it will hit a single sidestep if you are sidestepping at zero range. It will actually track enough to hit you in those cases. Alright, let's talk about Demolition Man. Demolition Man is this low from Paul, and it's what creates like the super powerful exploitative like mix up with the Death Fist, right? It's that was the just frame version, which you don't see all that often because it's kind of difficult to do, but it's down 4 to 1+2, and you need to do specific timing, and if you do it with perfect timing, you get the blue sparks and extra damage like I did right there. I'm not a Paul player, so I don't do that consistently or anything, but whatever. The thing about this move is that it's an unseeable low, first of all. The important thing to know about that is obviously you can't visually react to the move coming out because it's too fast. Most of the time. Maybe if you're like super good you might be able to see it, but I put it like in my mind in the same category as Falling Leaf from Leo. It's just a really high damage knockdown unseeable low that means that the character is very scary at close range. And I say close range for a specific reason, because look at this. You see, from this range where any kind of like normal generic mid, you know, even a jab is going to hit comfortably, like right here, Demolition Man is actually going to whiff. What I'm trying to say is that this move actually has shitty range. The range on Demolition Man is shitty. It needs a deep hit and a clean hit for the knockdown to occur and for the move to function. What this means is, well, obviously a really good Paul player is just going to do this move when you can anticipate it and you're going to eat it, but a lot of the time when you're playing online, what will happen is a Paul player will run up and stop really close to you. And that is usually a cue for ducking when you're playing in the low ranks against Paul, because he knows he needs to be very close for his Demolition Man to work, and he's out here and he's doing moves, and then he's like, no, I'm going to do Demolition Man. So he runs up and he stops for a second, a split second, and that split second is the cue for trying to deal with Demolition Man. If you are confident in your read, you can do a hop kick to try and go over it. If you're confident in your read, you can duck and block it because it's a stagger low and it is very launch punishable. But if not, I mean, a generic fast mid is going to be a very safe option and keep the opponent honest, so it's a very good way of dealing with it. Another little bit problematic thing about dealing with the Demolition Man is, as I'm showing you right here, he can actually do it out of his roll dash, and this is more difficult to deal with, because when he's roll dashing at you from this range, he obviously has that Death Fist for a huge mid, and so it's not, you know, a super safe idea to just start ducking start ducking those. But that's just something you need to learn how to deal with. You can start sticking out, counter hit moves. You can try and interrupt with fast mids. You can move laterally, but my main tip would be when you see a Paul move in really, really close and hesitate for a single second before doing their next move, that's when you need to start anticipating the Demolition Man and try to deal with it. Alright, the next move I want to talk about here is I want to talk about 444, what I refer to as Paul's Trooper Roll. This is something that is very easy to anticipate when you're playing in the lower ranks, because in the lower ranks, people do not utilize sideways movement. They don't utilize sidesteps and sidewalks all that much, because it's slightly more advanced in terms of movement, and you don't see it all that much. When you see it, it's usually they're just walking around for no specific reason in a spaced out position like this, and they're not trying to set up specific things. And so in cases where the opponent is not utilizing sideways movement a lot, this move becomes broken good, because it is a safe, very long-range mid-launcher. So basically he does this move. If it hits, he gets a combo for massive damage. I don't know the combo, but I think it's, maybe you could do this. Okay, so that was completely improvised, and it was like way damage, right? Because that's Paul's thing. He does a lot of damage. And if it gets blocked, he's not at any significant disadvantage. He's close to distance. He's in your grill, and he can a lot of the time continue offense actually. So it's sort of a win-win situation, unless your opponent is moving sideways. And so I'm going to record again here myself doing a trooper roll, and then I'm just going to show you. Let's see here. All right. See what I mean? The thing about this move is entirely that it needs to be sidewalked. It's kind of like the design behind the move, and it's kind of obvious when you see it. This move was made to be very, very good, but super dangerous because it can be sidewalked easily. It's slow. It usually comes out when your opponent is, because when I'm right here, my opponent's never going to do this move, okay? When I'm standing right next to him like this, the reason he's never going to do that is because it's way too slow, okay? And if I do like a single jab or a down forward one, which I'm doing all the time when I'm in a close position, what's going to happen is I'm going to float the opponent, and I'm going to get a flow combo. Alright, so this is a move that is almost exclusively used from a spaced up position, or when applying Oki from a spaced up position. And in those cases, moving sideways around this move is not all that difficult, and it's going to yield you a whiff punish every single time. Alright, so that's just a quick tip for dealing with that move. But that sort of ties together with what I just taught you about the Death Fist. When you're like in this range against Paul, the Death Fist might come out, but the Trooper Roll is even more likely to come out. And just doing a lot of side walking like this is going to create whiffs a lot of the time against Paul. And then when that stops working, he's going to run up and stand right here, and that's when Demolition Man is about to come out. And so you duck, or you do a fast mid, or you do a hop kick. And now like the three most dangerous things that Paul can do have been like dealt with. I'm going to mention a couple of other things that I've seen a lot of people do with Paul in the lower ranks recently. The first one is, I think this is a new move for Paul. It's like back to charged back one, or is it back to charged one? The thing about this move is like it has a charged up version, right? He has a non-charged up version, but the charged up version can be used because it gives a massive amount of blocks and to give him a guaranteed setup. And so if you ever fall prey to this, just know that you have more than enough time to interrupt the second hit if you block the first hit, okay? But it forces you into full crouch. So you need to do a while standing move, or apply a crouch cancel. But I obviously respect the fact that not everybody watching this knows how to do full crouch cancel. So if I just do my while standing 2 after a block here, and he actually tries to apply the charged up version to get the guaranteed setup, I can actually just launch him in that interval. It's more than big enough. Another thing you can do is if you have a fast backdash canceling and you can do Korean backdashes, you can actually backdash out of the second hit a lot of the time, which works as well. Another tool I want to just talk about quickly is you see a lot of people apply back 1-2 with Paul. This is such a good move. I think this is completely new in this game as well, or maybe it just wasn't used before because there was no spinning in previous iterations of the game. But it's such a good move because it's a spin move, but it's also a 12-frame block punisher that does great damage, knocks down and puts the opponent at good range for applying the stuff like the trooper roll that I just talked about. But the thing about the move is that it should always be used in combos to spin. Okay, that doesn't work. Maybe that works. Alright, or it should be used as a 12-frame block punisher. It should never be used outside of that, and you see, maybe as a quick whiff punisher, perhaps, but you see people use the move just as an offensive tool, and it's way dangerous to do that for one specific reason that I'm going to show you now. The move is like very duckable, the second hit, and there's more than enough time to get that duck in. So if you're ever playing against a Paul player who is using that outside of his combos and using it outside of block punishment, always be prepared to duck the second hit. Is my big tip against that. I'm whiffing that combo, that's annoying me. I'm just gonna get it once for my own. Sorry about the awkward edit there. What I was saying is I want you to duck the second hit of back 1-2. And Paul has a couple of like duckable highs that you just need to get used to ducking comfortably and punishing him. One that you see a lot is they do back sway 4 a lot, and they do a downward one into back, hold back sway 4. And this is duckable and interruptible. Just got to be careful because obviously he has a mid mix up as well. He can go into lows, but a safe option here is to just stay blocking really. He creates a lot of space with the backsway, and what he's really looking to do is whiff punish you, so you just can't be too trigger happy. But be aware that the most used option, which is this 4, is a duckable high, and so if you have a read on it, definitely try and go under it. And then 3-2, you got to go under the high, and there are a couple of those out there. That's basically all I wanted to talk about in this video. I know we haven't gone super in depth, but I didn't want to make like a long video because in that case I might as well make like a Paul tutorial, right? But I just wanted to show you the Phoenix Smasher, the Death Fist, the Demolition Man, and the Trooper Roll, and talk a little bit about those, because if you can learn how to deal with those, then you've really done the difficult stuff, and then like it's all going to be, can you play actual Tekken against the guy and beat him? Usually in the low ranks, this is going to be more than enough to navigate through like a generic sort of like green rank Paul, in my opinion. So thank you so much for watching, guys. That's going to be it for this video. Let me know if you think it came out alright, how you would have liked me to change it, and when we do the next one, if we make a next one, if this has a positive response, I'll try and listen into what specifically you guys are looking for. If I get no like specific requests, I might try and do Horang next, because I think that's another character who's who can be a lot easier to deal with if you just take a few simple things into consideration. But for now, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much, and bye bye.